together they have written a book called Smoldering Embers. And what it is about is what happened to Lisa. She had a pretty chilling encounter with a serial killer. Lisa had a bad childhood, huh?
Yes, I have. I'm raised in a very dysfunctional home life.
Yet you worked.
Yep.
You had a job.
At the age of 14.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of your working was so that you'd get out of the miserable home. I know, a lot of people have told me that.
Yeah. Work was my sanctuary. It was a place to get away, a place just to be myself. People at work, loved me for who I was.
Where did you work?
Krispy Kreme donut shop.
At a donut
there.
shop.
Yeah.
And you are working at this donut shop, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and you're riding your bike back home when what happened?
A car went by, and the horn, they blew the horn, and I didn't think anything of it. And as I was riding my bike, I kind of felt uneasy, so I took a different route home, trying to take a different route home, but then this dog came out and scared the daylights out of me. Then I ended up going back the same route I normally went. And as I was approaching a certain intersection, there was a van broke down by a city park, and he jumped out and grabbed me. When I first was grabbed off the bike, I didn't know what to think. First thing I thought was, I wanted to live. And then I said, there's no reason to fight, because what was going through my mind, I was always going through a similar thing at home already. Why should I fight? Why is this happening to me again?
First, you want to give up, right?
Yeah, I wanted to give up.
Well, let's say what he did. He stripped you, blindfolded you, and gagged you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And while he was groping you, you said, I'll block it out.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll block it out. Where did he drive you to?
His apartment.
What happened there?
He gave me a shower, washed my hair, and then he repeatedly sexually abused me over and over again for 27 hours.
What was the purpose of washing your hair?
I have no idea.
He tied you up with bed sheets?
Bed sheets, yes, sure did. My arms, my legs. He would gag me sometimes with the bed sheet and tie it around my face and blindfolded. 99% of the time I was blindfolded. So.
Didn't he fall asleep in the 27 hours?
Yes, and I didn't. I did not fall asleep. I was too scared. But I was also trying to, I wanted to live so bad. I got him to trust me. I was gaining trust. At one point or another, we did have a conversation. I asked him why he was doing it to me. He referred to a recent breakup with another female. He was getting back at women in general.
From the moment that you were abducted, you did everything possible to leave clues.
Yes. Give
me an example. You said, somebody will find the clues. What were the clues you left?
Like I said, I was trying to survive, fighting for my life in a very calm way. Believe it or not, in that situation, I had to be calm. That's the first thing. It's called a survivor skill. Second thing, I happened to be on the monthly cycle, and I took the personal hygiene, removed it from me, and threw it underneath the car seat. And there's my blood match. So I wanted the police to know what they were dealing with if they found me dead. That at least
if they found her dead, they would have a sample of her blood from the tampon under the car seat. Pretty good thinking for somebody who's being held. What else did you do?
I do remember at one time I had to go to the bathroom so bad.
About the man who did this to Lisa?
Well, I learned that Bobby Joe Long was such a horrendous person. And sitting in court and listening to this man describe Lisa as that he was let her go because it was full of the kindness of his heart. This man killed 10 women. He raped 200 children and women before he ever was caught for murder. He got $68 for a fine for $68 for sending naked pictures of himself to a doctor's 12-year-old daughter. He even believed when he had a gun, a knife, 200 pounds, that his victims enjoyed it. And the thing that gets me is the people who believe when they hear he had her for 27 hours, they think that she had enjoyed it. That is one of the
Sick.
reasons
And
I had to write this book, and she had to help me.
He murdered his last victim just after she was abducted.
Yes.
And this young lady has had a lot of hate and sadness in her. Dawn, a year and a half ago, mother found Ashley face down on the ground, nearly dead. Dawn, what happened?
Well, actually, I pulled up after she got struck by lightning.
She was struck by lightning.
She was struck by lightning.
Pulled up and you saw a melted shoe?
Actually, this is the shoe. The first thing I saw a group of people around a child. And I had this feeling in my gut that, you know, that's my child. But I wanted to make sure that it wasn't. So I got to where she was laying as fast as I could, and the first thing I saw was this. And I knew that the only thing that could do that would have been lightning.
Her hair was standing on end and she was blue, and the snaps and zippers on her clothing had melted into her body.
Yep. Yep.
What happened then? The police raced her to the hospital.
Well, they actually had to pick me up off the ground because once I saw her, I collapsed. And I can't describe to you how it feels to watch somebody do chest compressions on your child and see them blue with no life in them.
Dawn, Ashley actually did die. What happened?
It took them approximately 23 minutes to start her heart back up.
When the police drove you to the hospital, you overheard the paramedics saying, she's gone, she's dead.
I actually heard him say that she wasn't coming around and they were going to have to give up.
That they were going to give up?
They were going to have to.
And what did you think?
I was kind of, I started to get angry, and I started talking to God, and I told him, you can't do this to me. Thank you. I refuse to bury my child. And I said it really loud, like he wouldn't hear me if I said it to myself. And after that, I didn't hear anything about what was going on with her. And I got to the hospital.
The doctor said it was they had to go to the textbooks because this was the worst case of lightning strike they'd ever seen.
They said they had never had this severe of a lightning strike victim come in there and actually survive.
What saved her?
Her shoe.
How did her
saved
shoe
her.
save her life?
Because the rubber on the bottom, if you can see, there's 2 holes in the side. And the rubber on the bottom, the lightning will follow the path of least resistance. So the lightning separated in her shoe. If it would have went directly through the bottom of her shoe, it would have exploded all of her internal organs. She would have had no chance.
Ashley today has some scars on her foot and her back and everywhere that you, Jim?
Well, it was involved a picket line held in Las Vegas. Over 17,000 union people walked out on strike, and we were picketing in front of Caesar's Palace, and we had to walk away. And a car was inching his way up into an entrance, and I was on the side of the car, and there was people still crossing in front of the car going both directions, and I guess the man was getting frustrated. He couldn't get in, and so he cranked the steering wheel all the way to the right, trapping my right foot on his tire, and before I knew it, I flew back on my back, and the car ran me up this way, right on my chest. And I stretched my neck as far as I could. I saw the tire getting closer and closer, and I'm like, just be patient, he'll be off of you in just a moment. And then he dragged me under the car for about 20 feet onto Caesar's Palace property. When he had stopped the car, I was so petrified, I was stayed conscious during the whole time, that I put my heels to the ground and scooted out back as far as I could, because at that point I didn't care if he ran my legs over with the other tire or not. I knew he wouldn't be able to run my chest over again. And
Crushed your pelvis.
crushed pelvis and left clavicle and all my ribs and a blood transfusion.
Let's take a look at that video of that accident. Watch this. Tell us what's happening.
Here I am, right here.
Oh, and he continues going?
Yeah, he onto Caesar's Palace property for about 20 feet.
What was going through your mind as the car rolled across your chest?
Well, I couldn't believe it was happening, but
Yeah, let's look at it again. There he is. Oh my goodness. That you stretched your neck out. Is the most
as the wheel was getting off of my chest, coming toward my neck and my face, I stretched my neck as far as I could so the wheel wouldn't crush my head. But another inch, he probably would have got me right there, as you can see.
How are you doing today?
I do pretty good. I have some arthritis, and I have a crushed pelvis, a lot of arthritis down there, and just recently went through some cervical fusion, and going to have some back surgery down the road, but very grateful to be here.
You're only 28, right?
Yes.
Beautiful, popular, and she was in law school. And then she started to make some bad choices in her life, some mistakes. And suddenly she found herself in a really dangerous situation. Lisa, you drop out of law school, why?
I got involved in drugs, which led to a crack cocaine addiction, which led to selling my body or becoming a prostitute.
You became a prostitute to get the money for drugs?
Yes. That was the only way I knew how to get it.
Okay. You knew your daughter had quit law school, Mom?
I did.
But she lived how many miles away?
250.
Did you know she was addicted?
No, I did not.
Did you know what she was doing to earn the money for drugs?
No, I did not.
Okay. And then one night things got even worse. What happened?
Trick picked me up. He was a high school teacher, hockey coach. He later on tried to kill me. I jumped out of his car on the freeway doing 55 miles an hour and got ran over by 3 cars that were behind us.
You nearly died. How badly were you hurt?
That I don't remember. I was in a coma from January 3rd till February 12th is the first date I remember. I don't remember being in the initial hospital at all. I had a crushed pelvis, paralyzed left side. I have 2 plates in my right arm and a rod, a severe head injury.
You were on that road half naked until the paramedics came. How
Yes.
long did it take them to come?
I was unconscious. I have no idea.
It took 8 hours to identify you.
Yes.
Why?
Because I was so badly.
Disfigured.
Yes. Yes.
How did they identify you?
From fingerprints from previous police records that I had had.
Wow.
It took them till the next morning to call my parents till they identified me.
The police said what to you?
I was at work, but they called my husband and said, "We think you better get to Grand Rapids immediately," and explained that our daughter was in the hospital in intensive care, not expected to live. At that time, we still knew nothing until we got to Grand Rapids, to the hospital. Lisa was there under an alias for security reasons, not knowing the story behind her accident. When we went and saw her, she looked like she weighed 300 pounds. They had given her so many units of blood, over 100. She was bleeding internally. They couldn't find where. That it was, I couldn't believe that was my daughter. Her father went and saw her and could not go back for another week to see her. He was so upset.
The police told you it was your daughter and that she was working as a prostitute. What did you think?
I couldn't believe him.
Did they ever find the person who did this?
Yes, because he had stabbed my friend. Later on, 55 times, they got him, and they found hair fragments of mine in his truck, so they assumed that it was him that tried to kill me, and I had 2 friends of mine pick him out of a lineup, identify him out of a lineup as the man that I had left with.
Now, you couldn't go through the trial.
No.
Because you know in these trials they make you the bad person.
Right, I wasn't going to go through.
Here's Nichelle and Sherry. Is it Sherry? Do you give it a French pronunciation? Sherry. 4 years ago, Angela's ex-husband shot her in the head and nearly killed her. Can you tell me about that day? I know it's terribly painful for you, but...
We had been divorced for about 2 weeks, And it had been a long time coming. I'd been trying to get divorced for many years, probably 7 or 8 years, and I thought that I was, finally strong enough to pull away from him and not listen to his threats anymore that he would kill me if I ever tried to leave him or anything.
Did he say things like, I would kill you?
Yes, on
Right.
almost like a daily basis. It was, I resolved myself to the fact that if I ever tried to leave him, that he really would kill me, and I lived that way for many years. And then I thought, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this anymore.
We see a lot of women who say that.
I decided
I'm afraid.
that. But he came that day with a gun, and
Now, he had once tried to strangle you?
oh yes, 3 days before that, he had come to the house. We had a disagreement, and I told him to leave or I would call the police. And in the whole 18 years that we were married, I never called the police because I knew that if I did, that he would really hurt me. So that day I said, I'm picking up the phone, and the cord got wrapped around my neck, and he almost choked me. But I went ahead and I took a warrant out. It's the first time in 18 years that he had any consequences, and he knew that there was a warrant out for his arrest. 3 days later,
And
came
you had
back
a
to my
restraining
house.
order?
Yes.
So the things we tell women to do, she's done, as far as we can see, except one thing, right? You let him in the house.
I didn't let him in the house. He told me, he asked me, could he come over and get some tools? And I said, I'll keep the doors locked. You can get in the garage, you can get your stuff without you coming in the house. He wouldn't leave the house. I opened the door just enough to yell something ugly at him. And when one thing, there have been so many people that have helped us in so many different ways. But one of the ladies that I worked with a long time ago, her company decided they wanted to give Nichelle a birthday party. And one of the ladies that was helping with that had a friend that lived in North Carolina. And her name is Patty. And Patty started, after she learned of the situation, sending Nichelle things for Christmas, for her birthday.
A secret admirer.
Yeah, and the
writing letters and everything? Do you say thank you? Do you write a thank you note? What would you say to them?
Said, well, I haven't sent it out yet.
You haven't? Aren't you supposed to send those cards out?
I'm waiting on her to give me some stamps.
I bought the stamps the other day.
I wonder if you could possibly do it in person. Maybe that would be possible. Could you please, so that they can do this in person? Now, who do we have here? This is Patty, and this is her son, Evan. Hi, Evan.
Hi.
Evan's absolutely thrilled about being on television, I guess. Angela, what do you want to say to Patty?
Thank you so much for all your help.
You're welcome. We'll be right back.